All right, friends. So see, in my case, it has worked, but then in your case, here you do have you have included your MySQL database over MySQL connector here, and also you did include this. Now, since you have included this, it tries to create the data source all on its own. Now, when I say services, I click here and then I refresh. See this? I refresh once again. Okay, even I am getting exactly the same error. You can see this here. I said you shouldn't be, this is just perfect, but I wanted you to check the code before this, before putting this. And then when you run your code, then in that case, you must be able to get the data. Okay, now you see, I did not say Maven and refresh after removing it so that Spring Boot data JDBC is removed. And now when I run this, I will be able to get the results. Please see. Okay, I click here. Okay. So why? Because you see JDBC template. I mean, you went one step ahead and then you tested your application, my dear. Services. Now, once again, I'm going to run this. See, this works like a charm. All of this was before introducing the JDBC, Spring JDBC. It was all before this. Now, once I've included this, I'm still supposed to proceed further. Hope you got it, Manisha. Correct, good. So rest of y'all, all there with me? Come on, can we move ahead? Can we move ahead, friends? All there with me? I'm on a quick roll call. Good. Nice. Very nice. Okay. So you see this is the first thing that I started with. I said we are going to introduce the dependency here. So I'm going to once again uncomment this and refresh so that I get the dependency injected here. I mean, sorry, not the dependency injected here. This is the dependency from Maven. So this is all about, including the jar file, which is a dependency. My application is dependent on this. So I will close this. I will close this Maven also. So far, so good. Now I'm going to go back to my customer DAO class. And in this customer DAO class, you see, this is what I had done at the rate auto-wired. And I had imported this. And please see from where did this get imported? From where did this get imported? You see this? It is org.springframework.jdbc.core.jdbc tip. This is the place from where it got imported. And this is coming up as a result of this library, which we have included in our pom.xml file. Okay, I hope you are all getting this, friends. Okay, correct? Correct. I'll repeat that. I will repeat that. So please see this. I want to make use of JDBC template, which will further ease my efforts of writing all of this code. I want to simplify this code and I want to use the services provided by Spring Framework. The services with respect to JDBC is provided by Spring Framework through this library. And I have included this library from pom.xml file. Take a look in pom.xml file. See here. I have included this library. So as a result of including this library, I have included in customer DAO a class called JDBC template. I have declared a reference variable of JDBC template. And what I'm trying to say is that where is this JDBC template coming from? Did I write the code for this? Have I written this class? Is this my class? Come on. Is this our class? The one that we have written? No. It's coming from where? Which library? Tell me. Come on, fast. From which library are we getting this? From which library are we getting this class? From data JDBC, isn't it? Come on, from data JDBC. This is the library. Yes, not temp, not temp. Where is that temp? What is that temp here? Yeah, JDBC template is the class. From where am I getting that class, Anikendu? From which library? You see, I have highlighted here, isn't it? Isn't it? This is the library from which we are getting that class, correct? Right? Now, see how this simplifies my work. See how this simplifies the work. Instead of writing all of this code, instead of writing all of this code here like this, correct? I just don't have to do all of these things at all. You see how beautiful this will become now. I will just comment everything. See this, and I will use JDBC template dot. I will say execute. Can you see this, friends? Execute. Now there are various different execute functions out here. Various different functions out here. One of the functions here, one of the overloaded function is this execute, which takes two parameters. Which takes two parameters. Correct. One parameter is the SQL statement itself, which is going to be select star from customer. And the second parameter here is the prepared statement callback. What is this prepared statement callback? I'll say new prepared statement callback object. What is the kind of object that I want to return back? I want to return back the customer. Okay, customer object. This is what I want to return back. So when I execute this, I will have to implement a function here like this, you see, do in prepare statement. So this is the prepared statement that I have. So this is one way of doing the execution. But I will keep this as it is. I did not intend to actually take this ahead. There are many functions. So I'll say JDBC template dot execute query. Okay, I do not have execute query. I'll say query directly. You can see this query here. You can see this query here. I will use this. There are many functions. If I want to cover or if I decided to cover each one of these functions, we will need 3 days only and only for JDBC development. But I will cover the most basic ones and the most fundamental ones so that you can pick up the rest all on your own later on. I'll say query again. I say select. This is the query I'm going to fire. Select star from customer. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say a row mapper. I'll say new row mapper. Right? You can see that there is a row mapper function here. And again, that row mapper is supposed to be of type customer. So this row mapper is the will help me. Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this row mapper is a functional interface. Hello. See, there is one single abstract function in it, one single abstract function. So don't you think this is a functional interface? Come on. Yes or no? Correct. This is a functional interface. So I will write it without using the lambda expression. If it is a functional interface, I can very well use a lambda expression, but I will write it without using the lambda expression, and I will write it with using the lambda expression. So I'll say list of customer, and I'll say customers is equal to See here, done. It helps me to map the row. I have the result set here. I have the row number here. I don't need the row number for now, but then I have the result set. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say new customer, or rather I'll say return customer. I'll say rs.getInt. I'll say ID, comma. Okay, you want me to make things simple for you? Okay. So I don't have to, write long statements here. I'm breaking it down. ID, comma, name, comma, address. This is what I'm returning back. See this code. See this code and see all the code that I write that I wrote over here. See this. If you all have all gone through your e-learning training on design patterns, how many of you all remember about the design pattern called template design pattern? How many of you all remember template design pattern? Any one of you out there remembering template design pattern? It is a behavioral design pattern. You have creational pattern, you have structural pattern, and then you have behavioral pattern. Template is a behavioral pattern. You got that? No, y'all don't remember. Anyway, what I'm only trying to say is that this JDBC template is completely designed based on template design pattern. So what it does internally, what it does. It will fire the query for me, so I don't have to say execute query at all. It will create a statement object internally, so I don't have to create a statement object at all. It will loop through the result set internally. I don't have to loop through the result set. But when it loops through the result set, it ends up making a call to this map row function, and it passes the same result set as a parameter and the row number also. And then I can deal with this result set the way I want. And what am I doing in this result set? The same thing that I was doing earlier. But you see this, it saves me from creating the connection option. It saves me from creating the statement object. It saves me from firing execute query. It saves me from running a while loop. What does this mean? Is it doing some kind of a magic, or it is doing all of these things internally all on its own? What do you think? Magic, or it is doing things internally all on its own? Magic or no magic? Just say magic or no magic. Internally. Correct. Correct. All of those things are done internally. So don't you think this makes my life easier? Don't you think this makes my life easier? Correct. So see the amount of code that I'm writing, and the maintenance also becomes easier for me. But now I have a point out here. So all of you all, I hope you are all there with me. Understand this very nicely. See, I said it will establish the connection to the database all on its own. So to which database it will establish connection? How will it know? To which connection, and what is the username and what is the password? How will it know? It will not know. It will not know which database to connect to. Where is the database running? Is it running on Amazon? It is running on Azure. It is running on my local machine. It is running. And what is the username and what is the password? How will it know? It will not know. So for my Spring to know which database to connect to, I will go to resources and I will go to my application.properties file. Here I will say spring.data source. You can see that spring.data source dot, I'll say JDBC URL. You can see this data source.url. This is the same URL that I'm going to pass that I used here earlier. But do I have to worry about this? Will I be establishing connection to the database? No. Then I'll say spring dot data source dot username is equal to, in my case, it's user. I'll say spring dot data source dot, I'll say data source dot password is equal to, in my case, again, it's user. So I need to give these properties out here, friends. I need to give these properties so that it understands which database to connect to. And then once I have done this, of course, I need to return back the customers, because I have commented everything down here and I'm saying return customers. See this, everything compiled successfully. Now, wait a minute. Very interesting stuff. So there are three things that I have explained. I repeat, there are three things that I have explained to you. So you see this Spring Data JDBC. Okay. There are three things that I have explained to you. One is that we have included in the pom.xml file JDBC, data JDBC library, data JDBC library. This is what we have included. This is the library that we have. Where have we included this? We have included this in our POM application. We have included this in our POM application. So I'll say this is my Spring Boot application. Okay, this is my Spring, or I won't focus on Spring Boot per se. I'll say Spring application. This is my Spring application, because all that I'm doing and all that I'm explaining can very well be done in any application that is Spring. I mean, in a plain simple Spring application without the need of having Spring Boot used in it. Okay, so I have got Spring. I hope by now you are very clear. A Spring Boot application will certainly be on Spring, but a Spring application need not use Spring Boot, right? I hope this point is clear to all of you. So I have this as my Spring application, and I have a POM file used here that has data JDBC library. So this is the library that is used here through pom.xml file. In this Spring application, I have some components here. What are those components in the Spring application? One is that, I have got a class called customer DAO. Customer DAO is the name of the class. And this customer DO class is my class. See, the color that I'm giving is different. This is also something that is provided by, no, I'll keep this as a different color. Okay, this is the library, this is a different library, and this is my own class. This library, see the color that I have used, provides me with a class in the class path, and that class is, come on, tell me, what is the name of that class? Come on, come on, come on. JDBC template is the name of the class. Correct? JDBC template is the name of the class. And this is provided by what? By the same data library. I have wired my customer DAO with this JDBC template class. I have wired it up. Take a look. I have my JDBC template. Customer DAO is wired to this. What does this mean? It will create. Who's going to create an object of this class? Come on, answer this question, my dear friends. Who is going to create an object of this class? See, Rod Johnson, he's a chief architect, huh, guys. Top guy, millionaire. Okay, tell me. So JDBC template is the class. Who creates an object of this class? No. Data JDBC is a library which contains the set of those hundreds of classes. Come on. JDBC library is a library which is a set of classes. Yeah, come on. Yes. Come on, rest of y'all tell me. Rakesh has replied to me in a private chat. JDBC template, yeah, that's what I'm asking. Who creates the object of JDBC template? I have just received one or two answers. Rest of y'all must also answer. It's okay if you answer wrong, correct, not correct, that's fine. Who creates an object of JDBC template? Come on, come on. Otherwise, at least put not sure. Who creates an object of class JDBC template? Okay. JDBC, Odit, where are you? No. No. Good try. Spring framework. Come on, it is the Spring framework. आपको मैंने ये बताया था ना? You remember this? Customer app? Okay, you remember in the customer app, you remember? I did mention that in customer DAO, you remember? In customer service class. You remember this? If this class was the part of Spring Framework, then I would have just annotated this as a service class. Spring would have automatically created an instance of it. You remember this? Right? And then you remember this in the customer sublet when I said auto wired. If this was the part of the Spring framework, then auto wired will do what? It will automatically inject the dependency. Customer service will point to this reference variable, will point to the class that implements customer service. Well, over here, we do not have an interface, that's fine, but JDBC template, this is a reference of the class directly. This is a reference. So don't you think that the Spring framework would have created an object of class JDBC template, and it is the Spring framework that will assign JDBC template as a reference to the object of that class? Come on, yes or no? So my question was, who creates an object of class JDBC template? Who creates an object of this class JDBC template? Come on, who creates? It is the Spring framework. I repeat, it is the same Spring framework. And all of these objects which are created by Spring framework. Correct, very good. Please, I'm so happy that you all are repeating this. I'm so happy. Thank you so much, my dear friends. Really, I'm really happy. So Spring framework, yes, it is the Spring framework. And now there is one more thing that my dear friends, you all need to write. Whenever Spring framework creates an object, that means it's a bean. It's a bean, Spring bean. It's a very general term that is used. Right, it's a very general term now. It's being used since ages, Spring beans. It's a Spring component, or you may call it a Spring bean. Yes, it's a Spring bean, right? Right. You remember, friends, please recollect. I did mention, see this customer app that we have written, Servlet API. I'm saying this time and again, this is the building block. This is going to help you a lot. Tell me one thing. I did, and I distinctly remember explaining this to you. My question was, who creates an object of class customer servlet? Did we create new customer servlet anywhere? In this entire customer application, servlet API wala customer application, did I create an object? No. Who creates an object of customer servlet? I used a term and I said it is that thing that creates an object of this class and creates and stores the reference of it and contains the reference of it. Tell me, do you remember? No, 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 no. Navya, good try, but no. Who creates an object of class customer servlet? Who creates an object of a servlet? Who creates an object of servlet class? No, 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 Ananya. No, good try, but no. कुछ भी ट्राई मार रहे हो आप लोग बट गुड नाइस नो 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 कहाँ ऑटो वायर्ड वगैरह ये तो स्प्रिंग है ही नहीं I had told you that if at all Spring was used and if at all I had used auto wired and stuff and all. Who creates an object of a servlet class? Who provides the entire environment of servlet API? Who provides the entire infrastructure to execute servlets and stuff? Yeah, so this itself is a servlet. So who creates an object of servlet? Hello friends, I did mention this. Please recollect servlet container. याद आया कुछ? Yeah, the web container is also okay. Web container is also okay. Servlet container. Write it. Servlets are instantiated by servlet container. Not even a single word here and there. You must write. Servlets are instantiated by servlet containers. I want all 22 of you all to write this here. I'm sorry, I'm making you all do this, but please. Servlets are instantiated by servlet container and it hold yeah. Servlets are instantiated by servlet containers. Yes. You better use servlet container as a singular. Servlets are instantiated by servlet container. Perfect. Perfect. Servlets are instantiated by servlet containers. Very good. Very good. Very nice. Very nice. I'm happy. Yes. 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 Exactly. Exactly. Perfect. 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 I'm happy. And do you think why do you think I did remember? I mean, I do remember that I did explain this also to you all. Why do I say servlet contain? Why am I calling it a servlet container? Because not only it instantiates customer servlet, not only that it creates an object of customer servlet, but it contains the reference. It holds on to the reference of the customer servlet object that it creates. Yaad hai? Right? It holds on to the references. It contains the references, hence the name container. मैंने बताया भी था आपको like I remember what I had picked up. I remember what I had picked up. I had picked this up. You remember now? If this contains is something, I call it a container. It contains something. You remember? I had picked this up. I remember. Right? So a servlet container creates. So yes, sir. You explained with Tomcat, correct? So Tomcat is a servlet container. Tomcat provides me the implementation of servlet container. Servlet container, Tomcat is a servlet container. It contains the references of servlets that it instantiates and provides the services to that customer servlet. आप चाहिए तो मोबाइल पे रिकॉर्ड कर लो. How many of you are recording my session? Frankly बोलो. How many of you are recording? Is there anyone who's recording my session? Frankly, no. No, okay. But you feel free if you have an extra mobile or something. At least you can record my voice or something. Okay. I don't mind if you record. That's okay with me. Right? Unless your company doesn't want you to record, then that's a different thing. You better ask your. Otherwise, I think it's okay. So, see, note my words. Note my words. I'm very particular about making statements. These are all technical statements. Very no loose talks. No loose talks. Tomcat is a servlet container. It creates instances of servlets and it holds on to the references. It contains the references of the servlets, the servlet objects. Simple. Similarly, exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Spring Framework has got something called Spring Container. I repeat, Spring Framework has got something called Spring Container. Please do not miss this, friends. When there is a Spring application here, okay, when there is a Spring application, there is certainly something called Spring Container. What is the Spring Container supposed to, not the Spring Container exactly, but it has something called Spring. If it's a Spring application, you know very well, it will have something called Bean Factory. You remember this? It has something called Bean Factory. I hope this you remember. Today in the morning we did discuss this Bean Factory. You want me to show you that Bean Factory? I can. You can see this here. You can see this here. अरे यार ये ऐसे क्यों नहीं चल रहा है? Bean Factory. You see this? Bean Factory. Can you see this here, friends? Where is this Bean Factory coming from? Take a look. This is an interface coming from where? org.springframework.beans.factory. Yaad hai? Remember I said Bean Factory? It is at the heart of it, my dear friends. I did explain this. You see here, Bean Factory. I did write that. Spring Core dependency injection, and I said, okay, I made your write it here in the chat window. I did not mention that here, but you see, you've got a Bean Factory which instantiates, I'll say instantiates the spring beans and keeps it and holds on. I'll say holds on, or rather I can say also say contains references of the spring beans that it has instantiated. I hope this English is correct. I hope this English is okay. What did I say? This is a Spring application. Okay, I'll remove the Spring application from here. So we have a bean factory. Okay, we have a bean factory. I'll put my Spring application here. I'll make this as 17. This is a big thing. It's a Spring application. Correct. See this? And bean factory instantiates. So in the Spring application, you've got bean factory, which instantiates Spring beans, right? And holds on, or you can say contains references of the spring beans that it has instantiated. You got this, friends? I hope you are getting this point, right? So what is the most significant thing here? The bean factory, and it holds on to the references. Where do you think it holds on to the references? Where do you think it holds on to the references? Where do you think it holds on to the references? The references is kept in, come on, one word answer, come on, spring what, come on, spring what? Servlet container? Yes, Sabash. It's a servlet container. You miss this and you are not a Java guy, huh, guys? Because these days, I said out of 10 applications, 9 applications that are built on top of Java are using Spring. There are certain things that you cannot afford to miss. The references is kept in the Spring container. So now again, once again, come on, friends, JDBC template. I say that JDBC template is instantiated by whom? Who instantiates this JDBC template? The Bean Factory. After instantiating it, where do you think it keeps the references? Where do you think it keeps the references? In the Spring container. It has references. It keeps those references in the Spring container. All are there with me, friends? Come on, quick roll call. All are there with me? Actually, today the entire day I was not feeling well, and now since last half an hour I'm feeling very good. So you might have seen that zeal, coming back again. All there, right? Come on. So you've got this bean factory which creates the instances of the spring beans, and then this JDBC template is one of the spring beans. It creates an object of that class. It creates it in the container, and hence, and that's how it is able to wire it up to this reference variable. That's exactly how it is able to wire up that object, that particular object which it has created. It has a reference to it. That reference it assigns to this JDBC template. Why and how? Because of this annotation. I remove this annotation and this will be null. I remove this annotation and it will be null. But if I put this annotation, it understands that it is supposed to wire up. It is supposed to create object of JDBC template and wire up the reference over here. Is that very clear? Any doubts, any questions? I'll take a pause here. And there is someone who's calling me and saying it's urgent. So please ponder over this. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. And if you have any questions, please gather those questions and type out those questions. And in the meanwhile, someone is really wanting to talk to me. हेलो। हाँ मेरे साहब, बोलो 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 बोलो, क्या हुआ?
कहाँ पे तुम अभी भैया?
हाँ, मैं ऑफिस में हूँ।
ऑफिस में एक काम करो ना, कल जरा बात करो ना।
कल?
मेरे को कल, हाँ, कितने बजे करेंगे इसको?
हाँ, मैं सुबह सुबह कर सकता हूँ, कुछ 8:30-9 के बीच में इंशाल्लाह।
हाँ हाँ
क्यों,
चलेगा
सब
चलेगा।
खैरियत? तो क्या हो गया
हाय
अर्जेंट?
हाय अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह है, काम है तुम्हारे पास।
अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक है,
हाँ
मैं करता हूँ इंशाल्लाह।
चलो
हाँ,
कल
नहीं तो
कल
नहीं तो
कल
नहीं तो तुम करना 8:30 और 9 बजे के बीच में इंशाल्लाह। हाँ।
चलो ऑफिस में रहते हो तुम कल?
हाँ, मैं ऑफिस में रहता हूँ वो टाइम पे।
चलो ठीक
हाँ
है, हाँ चलो
हाँ,
ओके, चलो
ओके।
शाम।
हाँ। Okay, so yes, I'm back. Any questions? Any questions? So this is clear, right? Where is this JDBC template coming from? Otherwise, one would think, and then you know what? I'm going to actually remove this auto wire later on, and then I will show you the kind of exceptions you're going to get. Right? That's one of the ways of learning. So now there is fun further. This is again going to give me an error. This is still going to give me an error. Why? Because now it's all about working with components in the Spring container. Instead of saying Spring container, note my words. आपको ये 10 बार अपने दिमाग में ये डाल दो. You've got to put this 10 times in your mind. All of these classes are now components which Spring is supposed to manage, which Spring is supposed to instantiate. Correct? Spring is supposed to instantiate, and all of these components are going to provide its functionality in the context of Spring. In the context of Spring, I repeat, in the context of Spring, there is actually an object called Spring context, right? So to say, to be very specific, not the Spring context, but application context. Let me show you. Application context. Ye raha. Can you see this application context, my dear friends? Take a look at this application context. You can see this here, right? You see this here? You see this? Application context. So there are classes that implements this interface, and all of these classes will offer its services in the application context, which is nothing but your Spring context. I don't think, I'm not sure. Yes, you have Spring context configuration is there. No, that is from IntelliJ. नहीं है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So it's application context, which is actually a Spring context. It is the context of your Spring framework, right? And you got to remember this, my dear friends. I mean, these are such fantastic things, such fantastic things. Understand this, my dear friends. This is general in Java world. You are all listening to me. You are all listening to me. In Java world, it's a thumb rule. It's a thumb rule. Take it from me in writing. It's a thumb rule. Whenever you have a concept of a container, that means the objects will be created by some of the other factory, and the container will hold the references to those objects. And general stuff are not only about Spring, and those objects will be known as managed objects. Those objects will be known as managed objects. Why managed objects? Because you don't explicitly create the instances of those classes using new. You don't create objects. You don't create objects using the new keyword. It is that factory of that framework. I'm not saying only about Spring framework. There are hundreds of frameworks out there in the market, and this is the general naming convention. You have a factory, some kind of factories that creates objects of those objects of some classes which are supposed to work within the scope of that framework, and the container will hold on to the references of those objects that are managed. In other words, it is created by the framework. And if you want to talk to the container, if you want to talk to the container, one more time, if you want to talk to the container, if you want to refer to the container, the object name will not be the container but the context. The name of the object that refers to the container will be context. Plain simple English. Many frameworks, all those frameworks that creates objects of the classes that you say that, okay, Mr. Framework, you create an object of this class so that you can provide services to it. That framework will have some or the other factory that will create an object of that class, and it will keep the reference in the container. And programmatically from your program, if you want to talk to the container, the name of the object that represents the container will be always context. Now it may be prefixed with something. It may be prefixed with something. Here I said it is prefixed. What is the name of the context object here? Chalo batao. What is the name of that object? Chalo batao. Tell me, what is the name of the object that represents the container here? What is the name of that object? I did specify. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Fast. What should I write here? Application context. Come on, yes or no? Application context. You can see this here. Application context. Can you see this? This is the part of your ORG to Spring. Yes. Okay, well, you're calling it Spring context. Okay, I did mention, but okay, but you better call it the actual name here is the application context. Application context here. Now I have a question. I have explained this. I'm back again on customer application, which was servlet API based. Come on, come on, come on. Please. I'm back again over here. Yes, application context. Do you remember the name of the context object that I gave you with respect to the servlet? Do you remember? I did give you the name of the object. There was application context, yes, but then that was used in the JSP. That was used in the JSP here. And I did mention here, I remember customer. Okay, well, I have not documented it, but then I remember customer servlet. Tell me, do you remember? Yes, Sabash Anand. Very good. See, Anand has got, yeah, servlet context. See, Anand has got an answer. Servlet context. Servlet container, servlet context. Okay. But ठीक है, Spring वालों का अपना, it is, I mean, Spring architect decides, not I and you, but they will not violate the naming convention. At least here it is the container, the Spring container. Okay, the name of the context is not Spring context, but application context, but it is still the context object. Is that very clear? Is that very clear, friends? And don't worry, even if you do not remember, when you start working on your projects, when you start coming across these things, it will be kind of like, you will be able to recollect, oh, we had discussed that in the training program. Yes, the context object. So it is the context object. Now, the point here is, you all agree, this customer DAO is supposed to use an object of some class which is managed. Yes or no? You agree? See now that, I've started using very technical terms here, right? I have a question to you all. You all understand English? I'm sorry for such a funny question. You all understand English? Say yes. Which is the language being used here on this website? अच्छा इसको क्या हो गया? Moneycontrol.com promo. Okay. Do you all understand English, right? So this, what is the language used here? English. Okay. Okay. Chalo, how many of you all can explain this English to me? I have highlighted. How many of you all can explain this English to me? Check out the top gainers on the Sensex, Nifty, or any other index. My God, what is this index? What I know about index is the index finger. Then at a single glance, now you can also view various parameters like last 5 days performance, gain percentage, SMA, deliverables, volume. Oh my God, ये क्या है? What is this? Also, for better understanding, you can sort the list based on prominent features as well. All English, but I don't understand, my dear friends. I don't understand. Low, last price, previous price, थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आ रहा है. Percentage gain, I don't understand. Percentage gain. Right? I don't understand that. Why? Because I do not belong to that. Yeah, these are stocks. Yes, these are stocks. Yes, share market terminology. Vocabulary. Instead of saying terminology, Anikendu, I will say this is the vocabulary of this field. This is the vocabulary of share market. Come on, yes or no? This is the vocabulary of share market. Though English, this is the vocabulary of share market. If someone is expert in this, he understands this vocabulary. If someone is expert on share market, he or she understands the vocabulary here that is used, and he or she can make sense out of it. And if he or she is really a serious guy and not just simply a roadside guy who wants to just simply, play and try his luck with shares, he or she understands what exactly this vocabulary is. If a real professional, you bring the real professional, he'll understand the vocabulary exactly the same way, my dear friends, exactly the same thing here with our you must know the vocabulary of the framework, the platform that you're working on. You must know what is a context object. You know what it really means by container. You must know what it really means by spring beans. You must know what it really means by a managed object. अभी अभी से पहले आपको पता नहीं था. Before this, you did not know what is a managed object. What is a managed object? Managed object is the one that you do not write new and instantiate it. You let the framework instantiate it. You let the framework create an object of it. That is so. So who is managing the creation of that object? It is the framework that is managing the creation of an object. Hence, I call it a managed object. Now, prior to this, if at all, on day one, if I would have told you, so we have got managed objects, this, that is, you say, huh? What do you really mean by managed objects? What does that really mean? But now you are clear on that, right? Now you know what it is. So this is this JDBC template, internally, when the Spring container starts up, it creates an object of this class, and hence it is a managed object. Correct. How do I use my customer DAO? Going back to my Spring demo application, how did I create customer DAO? Is it a managed object? Yes or no? Look at this code and tell me, is it a managed object? Yes or no? This is not a managed object. This is not a managed object. I am creating a new object of class customer. Now, please listen to this very carefully. Nothing can be simpler than this. Nothing can be simpler than this on the face of this earth. It's common sense. If this is not a managed object, if this is not a managed object, if I am creating an object of this class, here is the reference. My program has the reference. Spring container does not have a reference. Yes or no? Spring container does not have a reference. It does not have a reference. If Spring container does not have a reference, how will it know it is supposed to inject the dependency of JDBC template to this reference? How will it know? नहीं पता चलेगा ना उसको. It will not know, isn't it? Don't worry, those guys who don't understand Hindi, it's okay. I always repeat my point in English then. I am repeating the point. If this is not a managed object, my Spring container does not have a reference to it. My Spring container does not even know about it. It is totally agnostic of this. And if that is the case, how will it even read in the object of that class that there is something which is auto-wired? And why would it actually care to, inject the dependency? And when I'm going to run this, it's going to give me an error. It's going to give me an error. First of all, to start with, you see with application properties, I said that it's going to give me an error. Why? Because it will not, if at all, this everything goes fine, and if at all I use JDBC template, who is going to establish the connection? It is the JDBC template who's going to establish connection to the database. Who's going to create a statement object? The JDBC template. Who's going to create a prepared statement? The JDBC template. Who's going to loop through it? The JDBC template. And then it will execute, for each one of those rows that it goes to next, it is going to execute this map row function for me to do something, and then whatever I return back, it puts it into the list over here. And it is a generic type. You see this, I'm saying that I am creating a row mapper for customer type of an object, so it is expecting the customer to be returned back, and I'll get a list of customer. Well, what I'm trying to say is that It must create a connection. How will it know which connection object to create? I mean, how to create a connection object without having the URL of the database? Which database to connect? What is the username and password? I get it from here. I get it from here, but still this is going to give me an error. Why will this give me an error? Because this customer DAO is equal to new customer DAO. There is a problem here. There is a problem here. And what that problem is? The problem here is that this customer DAO is not a managed object. So if the container does not have reference to it, so if container does not have a reference, it will not even care to do something like this. And I'm going to get a null pointer exception. Why? Because in customer DAO, from here, I'm invoking customer DAO dot get customers. So it will invoke customer get customers. In customers sorry, in this customer DO.get customers, I'm using JDBC template dot query, but JDBC template is what? What would it be without the customer DAO being a managed object? What would this JDBC template be? It would be, come on, come on, come on. What will be the value of it? If container is not going to inject the value, what will be the value of it? Null. So what do you expect to see here? Come on. What do you expect to see? Don't get scared of exceptions. It's not going to blast. It's not going to explode your machine. Null pointer exception. I'm going to get null pointer exception. Okay, here you go, null pointer exception exactly at this line. हाँ तो फेल बोलो जल्दी मसला बोलो क्या ले सकता हूँ उसे yeah, absolutely, that's a priority. Yes, that is a priority. हाँ ठीक है इंशाल्लाह बट यू विल बी एबल टू मैनेज बराबर कौन सा काम उसको देना है कैसे पुश पुल वगैरह ठीक है चलो ओके ठीक है ओके right, you're getting the point. See, very clear. It says on this line number 35, here you go, line number 35, JDBC template, it's null. This is null. Why? Because this is not a managed object and Spring did not get a chance to inject the dependency. As simple as this, Spring did not get a chance to inject the dependency. Correct? Now, what I'm going to do is this. Here, see, I've got Spring demo application. I am going to create a class. There is a class here. I'm going to create a class and I will say this is, I'll say demo application. Okay, I'll say my command line runner. Of course, in real life application, you will give a better name. My command line runner implements. I'll say command line runner. Can you see this here? If I implement this, okay, and I'll say okay, I need to implement the run method. I can implement the run method. Now, when is this executed? Whenever the Spring container starts successfully, it will execute this. But again, always simple classes, my container won't be aware of it. So I need to mark this as component. Got that? And I will go back to my DAO, my customer DAO, right? My customer DAO. Since now we have discussed this very nicely that this is also supposed to be a component. This component is an annotation coming from where? Come on. This component is an annotation coming from where? org.spring framework.stereotype. Correct, you got that? So since I have made this as a component, this becomes a managed object. Well, this is a class, but the object of this class will be managed. What does this mean? Who is going to create an object of this class once I say @component? Come on, who is going to create an object of this class? Who is going to create an object of this class? Come on. Who is going to create an object of this class? Jaldi bolo. 542 ho gaya. Spring container. Okay, to be very specific, Bean Factory. But if you just simply say Spring, it's okay with me. Because Spring has got so many components. It's okay if you are not very specific which particular component, but I would still prefer you being specific. You say Bean Factory of Spring, I repeat, Bean Factory of Spring is going to create an object of this class. And since Bean Factory of Spring is going to create an object of this class, and don't worry about this wavery line yellow, it is just this ID is extra smart. I can always say, don't give me these kind of warnings, and that warning is gone. So don't worry about it. If you get the warning, it's okay. If you don't get the warning, it's fine. Who's going to inject the dependency? Spring. Who's going to create an object now? When Spring creates an object, it can run through all the fields. It will see the fields. Now you remember reflection, my dear friends. Reflection yaad hai? Come on, come on, come on. Introspection, reflection yaad aa gaya? Correct? Yes. Internally, it uses introspection. It gets the name of the fields. It finds the annotations on it. If it is at the rate auto-wired, it will search for the classes that is of type JDBC template. It will create an instance of that class and assign the reference to it. You got that? It assigns a reference to it. It will create an object of this class as well. And I created my command line runner. This is the wrong place. No, this is the right place. I created my command line runner, and my command line runner at the rate component. This is also going to be instantiated by whom? Come on, one word answer. Spring. Bean Factory of Spring is going to instantiate it. What is the speciality of this component? It implements command line runner. What does this mean? When the entire container starts successfully, it will execute this code. When the entire container starts successfully, when the container has all started successfully, all the beans are instantiated, not my words, all the beans are instantiated. That means in the DAO class, customer DAO is also instantiated. The auto wiring is all automatically done. JDBC template is all, everything is done the last way. Run function here will be executed. So I go to my Spring demo application and I'm going to remove this code here. So I don't need this code, isn't it? I shouldn't be doing this, isn't it? I will ideally never ever do anything more than this here in the main function, ideally. Unless you come up with a very good reason for it. I don't see a reason. I have never done anything in the main function other than this. So I close this, right? This is a Spring Boot application. This is the entry point. But one thing is for sure, in command line runner, if I write my S out here, this is the last thing that executes after the container is instantiated. In other words, the Spring application has successfully started, right? This is what it is. And also one more thing, this will be executed once and for all, not every now and then. Once and for all, when the Spring container starts, this function will execute once and for all. Okay, and in fact I would like to write this documentation here. All right, I'm going to write this documentation here like this. Okay, perfect. Let me run this and show you. Now I'm expecting there shouldn't be any error. Can you see this? This is the last line here. Can you see this? There is a last line here, my dear friends. Take a look. This is the last thing that executes. So when the and once and for all. Correct. So this is the place where I am going to do what? I'm going to use my customer DO. Once again, tell me, is this the right way to do it? Is this the right way to do it? Is this the right way to do it? No. Is this the right way to do it? No. What is the right way to do it? Come on. At the rate auto wired, customer DAO, and customer DAO. This is the right way to do it, isn't it? Yes, and here the only thing that I need to do is I say customer DAO dot get customers dot for each system dot out colon double colon println. Right, here you go. That's it. You can see this. I better write it in this format. This looks beautiful, and this is called Fluent API style. You see, get customers dot for each customer dot println. Simple. Now they go. I'll get the data. Okay, I get the data. Here you go. Here you go. I have covered two major topics. I have covered Spring Framework Auto. I've not two but several topics. I have talked about Spring Container. I have talked about Bean Factory. I have talked about Spring Context. I have talked about the concept of the object getting instantiated by the Bean Factory. I have talked about the fact that it holds the reference. I have talked about auto wired, which will help you to wire up the wire up the wire up the objects. And then I have talked about JDBC template. This is the new thing that we have learned. These are the new things that we have learned: customer DAO, JDBC template, and see the amount of code that we have written here. I'm still keeping this code commented so that you can see the difference in the code here. You got this, friends? Any doubts, any questions here? Any doubts, any questions? Okay, so we are on 548. What I'm going to do next is I will push this code. I have not yet pushed this code to my to any repository. I did not, in fact, create a repository for this. So I'm going to push this code to my repository. I'll say trainings and then PWC, and then I say Spring demo and cd.get ignore. Yes, so I do have get ignore here. It's just that I need to initialize get init. We're going to learn get also, get init. I am going to say get add hyphen all. I'll say get commit -m. I will explain what all of these commands are later on during DevOps. And now I will go to my Safari, and here I will go to my Bitbucket. And I will go to repositories, and one of the latest repositories that I have is it customer app. Okay, MSLC training. So this is where I'm going to create a repository. Okay, it's the same thing. It's not a private repository, it's public. I'll write Spring JDBC, or I'll say Spring training. I'll just say Spring training here for the timing. Okay, I say no, and I say I'll pick this up. I'll go back to my terminal, and then I copy paste this command. I refresh here, and you see this. You have the source code. Got it? So you need to, how will you go to this? How will you get to this? It's very simple. Okay, do this. See, this is the URL. See, you got it in your chat window. This is the URL. Same thing, everything's same. Just the last may slash Spring training. That's it. Bitbucket.org. https://bitbucket.org. See, everything is same. All right, see this. Okay. MSLC/trainer/spring training. That's it. Just go there, click on clone, click on this. Okay. Or else if you don't want to do this, hello. Just click on this. Okay. And then go to what? Go to what? Or else you can just simply say dot get over here. Copy paste this. Or just type this out where? Come on, where? File. You see this file, new, from version control. Just put this here. Come on. That's it. And just make sure that you are in a different folder altogether. And you say clone, and you will be able to get the entire project. Take a look at all the code that I have written. See this? And you are supposed to replicate the entire thing on your own machine. Hardly any classes, friends. Hardly anything. Customer DAO. Nothing great about it. You see this? Nothing great about it. Right? And then my command line runner, nothing great about it, just few lines of code. Spring demo application, nothing. Customer is just setter getter methods with toString. Customer DO, just nothing. As far as the code is concerned, it's minuscule. It's very less. It's just almost nothing. Of course, you're going to change this with your own local host, and the username is root, and the password is supposed to be RPS at the rate 12345. Any doubts, any questions? Come on. I hope you all will do this all on your own. I hope you will all be able to do this all on your own, and you will be able to pull the code, and you will be able to run this application on your machine. Come on. It's just that you need to run it on your machine, or else copy paste it into your blah, 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 blah. You know what? We are done for the day. Come on. We are done for the day. I hope you all enjoyed